بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue this tremendous sharh, explanation of this monumental work by the great Imam Abu al-Abbas Taqiyuddin Ahmad ibn Abd al-Halim ibn Abd al-Salam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani al-Dimashqi al-Mutawaffa sanata 728. As we continue now in this book, it's 6:58 p.m. Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024, which agrees with the Islamic date. It is currently the 12th on Wednesday, or later to Khamis technically, evening of Thursday, the year 1446, the year 1446, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. As we continue the statement by Ibn Khafif, rahimahullah, in regards to the statement that we were explaining, that you will find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, mentions the statement of Ibn Khafif of all the different principles of the Sunnah in regards to the matters that are extremely important, especially in these times that we live in, where it's of the utmost importance for one to be steadfast upon the correct creed, despite of all the currents and the violent currents of misguidance or affairs pertaining to shahwa or shahawat or shubuhat, the affairs of following one's desires or falling into ambiguities as far as the belief in creed. So those matters, everyone, we mentioned that the great Imam Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, that he mentioned in regards to the matters pertaining to these principles. Number one, where we stop, it says, وَنَعْتَقِدُ الصَّبْرَ عَلَى السُّلْطَانِ مِنْ قُرَيْشِ ما كان من جور أو عدل ما أقام الصلاة من الجمع والأعياد والجهاد معهم ماض إلى يوم القيامة والصلاة في الجماعة. We explained this line, and this will explain today. He said, we have the firm belief from patience upon the ruler from Quraysh, just as what emanates from him of injustice or adl, or justice, or being what? A person that's righteous and just. As long as he establishes the prayer of the Jumu'ah and the A'yad. So we mentioned this matter, and we fulfilled, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, the details that we wanted to explain briefly, even though the details that we wanted to present are more. As we know, this matter has reached what they call balagha hatta tawatur. It has reached the level of what they call tawatur, meaning there's so much text that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had brought in order to stress the importance of this matter, that maintaining what is correct is of the utmost importance for one to survive in this world. Due to the fact, as we know, everyone, that the matters of the ruler has always been a fitna in every time and place, no matter where you go in the land. There's always some riffraff in regards to the ruler and trying to overthrow him and try to now start uprisings or instill doubt in the Muslims pertaining to the Muslim ruler everywhere and every time. If one person becomes a Muslim, you will hear these matters so much. Whether it be, which is in your locale, hearing it from other sources, or what's taking place in other countries, from all these matters that has been a fitna or trial and tribulation for the Muslims all over the world. How their societies became destroyed, eradicated, decimated, all because of these matters of who goes and opposes the proper revelation in which the Messenger of Allah was sent with. That if they would have held on to those proper guidance or that proper nasa'ih or advice, they would have been led aright in the correct path, and the different matters of chaos would not have what happened in the first place. But you'll find that we mention these type of people, especially those who have the political agendas, in regards to establishing some type of kafir, disbelief, decorum, or system. Trying to establish so-called democracy, thinking that, thinking that the so-called anzima, taghutiyya, shaytaniyya, mu'asira, or what they call al-qawaneen al-wada'iyya, al-marina, or the flexible so-called systems or decorums that is more suitable for contemporary times. And at the times of the Sharia, they are not suitable for what these days, which is a statement of disbelief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His infinite knowledge and wisdom had complete awareness of what time we were going to be in, and what time, what centuries were going to happen, and the different types of fitna that would take place in it. You'll find never in the book of Allah, the sunnah, the message of Allah, where they say when their time, when such and such time comes, leave the Sharia. Embark upon what the non-Muslims have. Embark upon their so-called flexible systems that are so-called suitable for these days and times, and abandon what Allah and His Messenger have revealed. You'll never find that in the book of Allah, nor in the sunnah, the message of Allah, this type of rhetoric. This is the type of doubts you'll find that certain people come and bring and instill in the Muslims that the religion of Islam is not one, it's not adequate. We have to embark upon some other forms of solutions in order to so-called solve the problems of society, which is all nonsense. You see the man-made laws and what they're doing to the Western lands. You see it in front of your eyes. You see it clearly, what type of results it brings. What are the results of these man-made systems? Man-made laws, man-made so-called dasatir, or ways of life, or affairs that's pertaining to their affairs that they think is better and more befitting for mankind. You see it clearly. You see it in your neighborhoods. You see it amongst your families. You see the drugs. You see the alcohol. You see the music. You see the non-ethical dumb wars that they call the people to join in. You see it with your own eyes. You see what it has caused of damage and what it has destroyed of people's minds and societies and beliefs and families and kids and children, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. If that's what you want over what Allah and His Messenger have sent down, then we have no doubt that a person has truly lost their mind. Because you see the results of what man-made systems and laws does to a land. You see it right in front of your eyes. You see it. You go, all you have to do is go outside the masjid, look around you, and the darkness that what has set on these type of lands. It's to the point where now it's as if in the Western lands, the sun rises and it still looks like it's dark. That's the affairs of what will bring in regards to what? Kufr and shirk and ma'asi and all of its affairs. How it destroys lands and it removes the light from the people. These type of matters, everyone, that we wanted to mention, the affair that's pertaining to jihad. Now you'll find this is a general principle. وَالْجِهَادْ مَعَهُمْ مَاضٍ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Even those oppressive rulers, everyone, that jihad with them, that it goes forth, even if they are oppressive rulers, even if they are people who are unjust, and even if they are what? People that have fell into some form of ma'asi from the rulers. We talk about the Muslim rulers. Jihad with them goes forth. Al-jihad ma'a-sultan. Generally, everyone, al-jihad ma'a-sultan adlun or dhulmun. Whether it be from a righteous leader or an oppressive one. It is obligatory for the one who's in charge of the land, all the way up to the day of resurrection, that fighting in the cause of Allah, that it will not cut all the way up to the day of resurrection, and that it remains, and jihad along with those rulers is obligatory, and hajj with them, and obedience to them, as we mentioned, as long as it's obedience to Allah and His Messenger. We have also mentioned, let's continue everyone, وَالصَّلَاةُ فِي الْجَمَاعَةِ حَيْثُ يُنَادَى لَهَا وَاجِبٌ. He said, salah in congregation, whereas if it's called for it, it's obligatory. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah said in regards to Ibn Khafif, that Ibn Khafif, everyone, was Shafi'i al-Madhab. He was Shafi'i al-Madhab. However, you'll find that even though he was upon that madhab, he did not abandon what was the correct position in light of what Allah and His Messenger had commanded. So you'll find that they say that he was mujtahid, meaning that he contemplated and scrutinized the text of Kitab and Sunnah. And he gave precedence to that over what the madhab said. He gave precedence to the evidence and proof over the what? Over what was the madhab. What was the madhab, everyone? It is known that the prayer in congregation, what is the strongest statement with the madhab al-Shafi'i, that is sunnah mu'akkada. That is a highly emphasized sunnah, or they say it's fardu kifaya. Or they say that it is a duty upon some of the Muslims, that if some of them carry the obligation, then the sin falls off the remainder of the people. Is this the correct position? No. However, you'll find that Ibn Khafif, even though he was upon this madhab, in light of what the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad Aman al-Jamidi he said, هذا أعلى درجة عندهم. يعني القول المشهور عند الشافعية أن صلاة الجماعة سنة مؤكدة. يتساهلون كثيرا في صلاة الجماعة يرون أنها سنة مؤكدة وإن ترقوا كثيرا. He said that is the highest degree with them in regards to praying in congregation. We know the obligations are upon who, everyone? The men. But however, the Shafi'i madhab, they see it to be a highly emphasized what, everyone? Sunnah. So keep that in mind. In regards to what? Performing prayer in congregation. You'll find that they say that it's reached a level what they call fardu kifaya. That is an adequate amount of people that carry it out from the community, then the sin falls off the rest of the people. However, you'll find that Ibn Khafif, rahimallah, you'll find that he was frank, establishing that prayer in congregation is what everyone, it's obligatory. If you look in your book, what did he say? He said, Salat al-Jama'ah wajib, haythu yunada laha. It is obligatory for the men whereas it's called, or it's announced. And we know, everyone, that the text that comes in the Sunnah all points towards or is indicative for what, everyone? For the obligation of it. So those are the matters that you'll find that Ibn Khafif, rahimahullah, that he mentioned. So this matter, as we said, everyone, this type of matter, one needs to be very attentive of in regards to what Shaykh al-Islam is trying to mention here. Let's keep going. إذا لم يكن عذر مانع عذر في نفسه عجز يمنعه من الحضور أو جاء مانع أو وقع مانع المانع كضعف الأمن. He said you'll find that the excuse to excuse one from praying congregation, who is in the Muslim land of course, and even in these lands of the West, that one, as much as he is able to pray in congregation, as much as one is what? Able and what is in his ability, that you'll find that he gives the exception for what, everyone? For the excuse within himself of what will prohibit him from attending. You'll find that from the different types of excuses that one can excuse himself by, the attendance of prayer congregation, is if there's da'f al-aman, that the security of the land has been rocked, or the security of the land is weak, meaning person that he is afraid for himself that if he left for the salah in order to pray in congregation, that he might be killed or might be hurt. For you'll find that from those who have lived amongst the Muslim societies in which Allah has allowed their society to be cultivated in a condition and in a state where security and sanctity is established, in which you'll find that some of the people not realizing what they're in of this great blessing. إذا قيل قد يحصل الخوف للإنسان يخاف على نفسه أن يخرج إلى المسجد وهذا شيء واقع كثير جدا في كثير من الأقطار في هذه الدنيا الآن. He said you'll find that in certain places within the world, everyone, that there are certain lands that have fear, that one is afraid that something could happen to him or her, especially when the night comes that the authorities might see a person to be religious and might threaten to so-called arrest them or put them in the penitentiary or put them in some type of, like we mentioned, some type of affair or uncomfortability, or they might question them, or they might try to hurt them, and all these other different matters that take place in certain societies. That if this was the case, that you'll find in certain lands, that if this was widespread and this happens, afraid that oneself might be subjected to this type of danger, leaving out to the masjid, and you'll find that he says that this takes place a lot in certain countries, even in the dunya today, right now. Some of the places you'll find that they cannot even pray the prayer of congregation at night. Go, you'll come, especially when the sun goes down, you'll find that they say this incumbent upon, or binding upon everyone to remain in their home or remain in their place. There is no prayer in congregation or other than that, of what it is of obligations. These affairs take place in cities, lands, countries with this type of meaning, in which is binding upon one when they're in that type of predicament, where stability in the land, safety and security is with the sukkan, meaning the residents of that land, that they praise Allah for this type of great ni'mah. Because there's no affair except the matters in which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say from the greatest of ni'am of this dunya and from the greatest of ni'am of this world, everyone, is to live in a society where security and stability is within the land. Where one doesn't go out and he doesn't fear that something might happen to him, or something will, so-called, some type of detrimental affair, or some potential danger, or that his life be threatened, or that his property or wealth be transgressed against, or his family might be raped, or his children might be hurt, or his business is subjected to some type of criminality or corruption. For those type of affairs in the lands, everyone, this is considered a great blessing. And this is the dua of Ibrahim, which comes in the book of Allah, and so many ayat that we know. Stressing the affair of what, everyone, of aman, of safety and security within the lands, is from the greatest of blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can establish upon, bestow upon a people. And if those matters are removed, then they are in the most dangerous of conditions, in the most dangerous affairs, and the most detrimental of them. Who wants to go out? Who wants to go out in the street, or they want to now perform their acts of worship, and they cannot even do so? Find that the masajid are locked due to some type of great fear. And like we mentioned, everyone, this takes place in certain countries, which now puts us in the position and puts the realization that in certain aspects, one needs to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having masajid that are open and that they're able to establish their obligations. But those type of matters, like we said, everyone, is from the greatest ni'am that we need to be appreciative of, especially if they're in the Muslim land. Especially they live in amongst the Muslims, and this is clearly established amongst them. Despite of which you'll find from the different ambiguities that the people from the deviant sects of the Muslims spread. That, oh, this is a bad land, you shouldn't go there. Yeah, if there's a masajid, you can clearly leave out your house and have no fear upon yourself that someone will come and approach you and transgress the bounds against you, or transgress the bounds against your family or your children. You could go, pray your prayers safely and in security, and go about your business. That affair, if it's established, then that is a great ni'mah that land has what? Accomplished. Especially when we're speaking about the topics that's pertaining to what, everyone? The Muslim lands. So that's the affair that we wanted to mention. So those who are upon those or in those great lands have this ni'mat al-fidda, the safety and security, in which, like we said, there's nothing that's similar to it. No one knows it except the one who's deprived of it. Majority of us, everyone, don't realize what we have lost, and we don't realize what we have until we've lost it. A lot of us are in that type of predicament. They don't see what they have until it's removed from their life. And that's the sad case of a lot of human beings these days. They don't see what they have until Allah removes it from them. Then when Allah removes it from them, they wish they would have that ni'mah back. But they wish they would want that thing back after it's been removed. And that's in all different cases of life. Whether it be in our marriages, whether it be with people who Allah has put in our lives, whether it be for Salafi Masjid, whether it be for teachers who are truly qualified, whether it be in so many different matters that if one was to realize what they have, they would try to hold on to it with their moldy teeth and appreciate it and fulfill the arkan, the pillars of gratitude and thanks in order to preserve that blessing. And like we mentioned, everyone, from those greatest affairs is safety and security within the land, especially in the non-Muslim lands, that you'll find that a lot of people from the deviant sects are trying to instill doubt in the Muslims concerning it. To say, oh, those lands are not befitting to live in. Those lands, the leaders and the rulers are like this. To the end of the nonsense that you'll find that they try to so-called propagate. And then I ask those people, so you want us to live in the lands of kufr? Stay in the West? And what's so strange is about a lot of those who now stir up the uprisings and the revolts, they're living in the land of the kuffar. That's the strange thing. How are you living in the West and now you're telling the Muslims, oh, don't migrate to those Muslim lands, those lands with those rulers, but where do you live? You'll find that a lot of people who stir up this riffraff live amongst the non-Muslims. So it doesn't make any sense. So you find comfort in the non-Muslim lands, amongst them, amongst the lands that now have reached the level where they now allowing that gay marriages and now it's excelling and progressing and progressing. Who knows what the bar they'll raise it to now? Or what's next? Because now you'll find that amongst them who are calling to now that it's legal, they're trying to fight, so-called, some of them, to legalization of now so-called messing with little children. Those affairs now are what? Being discussed. So they go from one level to another level to another level of trying to legalize affairs. All those matters to let you know that the hal of the gharb is becoming evil and more evil and more evil. Those are the matters that one needs to now compare in regards to the lands of the Muslims compared to the darkness of the lands of the West. There is no comparison. These lands have excelled all types of what? Deviation, whether it be in affairs of just so-called human nature. Things that even animals don't even embark upon doing. That even have some type of shyness. And despite of that, you'll find that the human beings have no type of boundaries. Rather, boundaries to them is made to be what? Surpassed. And to be violated. And that's considered praiseworthiness with them. Those type of affairs, everyone, as we mentioned, as we said in this particular paragraph, is to let one know, yarhamakallah, that the affair pertaining to Salat al-Jama'ah, that it is obligatory upon the men, except if they have what? An excuse that excuses them from its attendance. But the origin of the affair is that Salat al-Jama'ah, praying in congregation for the men, is what, everyone? It's obligatory. And like we said, if one is able to pray it and to go out in the evening, then that's another ni'mah that Allah has bestowed upon one, if they was to do it. How many of those have we experienced during the time of Ja'ihat Corona or coronavirus? When all the salat and all the prayers in the masajid were locked, how did the Muslims feel when all these ni'mah were removed? And we're not talking about whether or not it was real, was fake. That's not what we're speaking about. The point of the matter is the masajid were locked. How did the Muslims feel when all of these ni'mah were removed? There was no Jumu'ah. There was no Tarweeh. There was no Eid. Nothing. The people felt it. To feel that ni'mah that's been removed. That Allah removed it, and the affairs that keep people stable within these times, all of those matters were what? Lifted. So that's to put in a proper perspective of the affairs of the blessings that Allah gives us, and to be grateful for it because they can be removed. And those affairs, like we said, is something that we need to realize. So you'll find that he goes on to say, at-Tarawih, sunnah. He said that praying Tarawih is sunnah. As-sunnah fi lughat al-mu'allif amrun mashru'. You'll find that the meaning of the word sunnah here is that it's legislated. يعني من هديه عليه الصلاة والسلام, بصرف النظر قيل إنه واجب أو سنة مؤكدة إنما يريد أن ذلك من هديه. He said that, not looking at the fact, of course, we're not looking or discussing the affair whether it's obligatory or a highly emphasized sunnah. You'll find that when he says this in the book, if you look everyone, that what he's intending by it is what? That it's from the proper guidance of the Messenger of Allah. So Taraweeh is sunnah. Let's keep moving. وَنَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مَنْ تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةَ عَبْدًا فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. We also testify that the one who abandons the salah on purpose, that he's a disbeliever. فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. كذلك أيضا خالف المؤلف في هذه المسألة مذهبه المشهور مذهب الإمام الشافعي وما قاله ابن خفيف هو الحق. You'll find likewise that the great Imam al-Shafi'i, Muhammad ibn Idris, you'll find that Ibn Khafif, keep in mind, he was what everyone? Shafi'i al-Madhab. His madhab was what? Shafi'i. Upon what was the madhab al-mashhur with Imam al-Shafi'i, Ibn Khafif also went against it. So let's break down this masala. We know two affairs. Number one, all of the ulama agree unanimously that a person that abandons the prayer in the affairs of i'tiqad, of belief, renouncing its obligation, kafir, disbeliever. Qawd al-wahida. That the person rejects or denounces the obligation of the obligatory prayers, يجحد وجوبها. فإذا جحد وجوبها فهو كافر. قول واحد. If he renounces or denies or rejects its obligation, then it's what? That person is a what? Kafir. طيب. The affair returns back to what everyone? من كون الشخص أو الإنسان أو المسلم يتركها تهاونا وتكاسلا. تهاونا وتكاسلا وتساهلا. Now if he leaves off the prayer out of negligence and what? Laziness. Those type of matters is what we'll discuss now. What is the code of the Imam al-Shafi'i? Is that person is not a what? Is not a kafir. Even though you'll find that Imam al-Shafi'i says that the person, that individual that falls into it is in a very extremely dangerous state to the point where he could be punished in the hellfire for an extremely long time. And in addition to that, you'll find that the Imam al-Shafi'i says, we still been bounded to what? He's still binded upon him to pray it. That the Imam makes him pray it or the ruler makes him pray it. And he's still killed. You understand? A lot of people forget that part. Oh, the Imam al-Shafi'i says such and such. Yeah, but the Imam al-Shafi'i also mentions the narrations, how if the person is to die in this state, that they could be in the hellfire for a very long time. Or he still established upon him the prescribed punishment. The prescribed punishment, but he said, لا يقتل ردة ولكنه يقتل حدا. He said he's not killed out of him being declared an apostate. However, he's killed out of what? Out of it being a had, meaning a prescribed punishment. Which means what, everyone? They still Muslim. They still Muslim. And that it could be a type of kafara for him. The point of the matter is, these type of affairs are extremely dangerous. Ibn al-Khafif, what he mentioned is the truth. You'll find the great Imam Muhammad Aman al-Jami, he mentions this. He said, وَمَا قَالَهُ Ibn al-Khafif هُوَ الْحَقِّ. What Ibn al-Khafif mentioned is the truth. The adillah of the evidences that point towards this affair of abandoning the prayer on purpose, الْعَهْدُ الَّذِي بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَهُمُ الصَّلَاةِ فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. He said the covenant between us and them is the prayer. Whoever abandons it, indeed has disbelieved. We just mentioned it said that abandoning the prayer, تَرِكَ الصَّلَاةِ عَمْدًا كَافِرٌ. ولكن أهل العلم يختلفون في نوع في نوع هذا الكفر. So I'm just going to mention this quickly. I already broke down the summary. For whoever leaves out the prayer on purpose, and he's a kafir. Al-ilm mentioned in regards to what type of kufr is this. Is it kufr bawah, naqid an al-millah? It is a disbelief that's clear, removes one from the fold of Islam? Or is it kufr of the actions? Of what they say, disbelief of the less, or the, if you want to say the belief of the less belief, or the less of the belief. Kufr duna kufr. Or disbelief of the less disbelief. You'll find that there's so many evidences and proofs, especially from the people of hadith, and at the head of them is the great Imam Ahmad ibn Hamd al-Shaybani, rahimahullah, saying there's kufrun bawah, there's clear disbelief. You'll find that others that say it's kufrun amali. You'll find from amongst them who say that it's disbelief of the actions. Who is that, everyone? And Imam al-Shafi'i. But keep in mind the other details that I just mentioned that he said. What did he also say? He's still killed. Or that individual will be in the hellfire for what? A very long time. For a long time. You'll find that even the great Imam, Shaykh Rabi' in his book, the explanation of Aqidat al-Salaf wa Ashab al-Hadith, when he was explaining this masala, he even mentioned it. He was saying that the evidences are extremely strong for those matters that's pertaining to the disbelief of the one who abandons the prayer, even out of negligence or laziness. They are extremely strong and it's scary. They're very strong. He says, whereas you'll find that the evidence for those that's pertaining to the what? Those who are, in which the great Imam al-Shafi'i had taken a position based upon the text is similar to what, everyone? Similar to what we mentioned maybe a month ago. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? The Prophet ﷺ said what, everyone? That the people will be pulled out of the hellfire. What did the Prophet ﷺ say at the end of the hadith?
Without any good deed.
They will be pulled out and they did not do any good. Qat. As it says in the hadith. يخرج منها فيقبض الله قبضة فيخرج منها أقواما لم يعملوا خيرا قط قد عادوا حمما وفي رواية حمما. As it says in the narration, it says that Allah will grip a grip, removing from the people, or removing people from the hellfire. What does it say in the narration clearly? They didn't do any good at all. They didn't do any good. لم يعملوا خيرا قط. So what we do with these narrations? That based upon it. The narrations which you'll find Shaykh Rabi' even mentioned in regards to this position. He said it is extremely dangerous to abandon the prayer. Whether it be from the affairs of hadith, or whether Imam Ahmad ibn Hamd al-Shaybani, and other than them from Ahl al-Ilm. He said the evidence for the person that abandons the prayer is extremely strong. He says it's very, very strong. Whereas we do find the evidences in the Kitab and Sunnah clearly, what the Message of Allah mentioned. But he said, but keep in mind, and this is the last part I want everyone to be attentive of. If the person that abandons zakat will be punished in the hellfire for 50,000 years, how much more do you think the person is for the one who leaves off the prayer? For those people from the aqwal of the people who say that the person who abandons the prayer is not a kafir, they still make ilzam, they still clarify these type of evidences to say that it can necessitate of a person being in the hellfire for a long time. So whether or not you want to say this one, or you want to say that one, the affair is extremely what? Dangerous. And you'll find that Imam al-Shafi'i still says that he's what? He's killed. Yuqtal haddan. He doesn't say riddatan. He said haddan. Out of the had, the prescribed punishment, which necessitates he's still what? Muslim. However, look to the consequence of the affair. In order to let one know, no one from these great scholars are being lax in what they're mentioning here. But they still have to now bring the text and respect the text of the Message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because we have texts that clearly said that the Messenger of Allah said such and such. And we cannot take one text and then say, oh, the Messenger of Allah said this, and say, oh, that don't count. No. You'll find it say that the Messenger of Allah made this type of clarity. It has to be what everyone take in consideration. This is to bring the affair. I want everyone to be clear what I'm about to mention here. The text and the position which Imam al-Shafi'i had taken. And I want everyone to keep this in mind, because I'm teaching you something. The affair that's pertaining to the great Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah, took the position of Imam al-Shafi'i. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i also took the position of great scholars from the past. From them is his Shaykh, who is who? Who came before Imam al-Shafi'i? Imam Malik. Imam Malik, rahimahullah. Imam Malik also said the same what? Same thing. And before Imam Malik, who came before him? Nafi'. Nafi' also came before him. Where did Nafi' get that from? From the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were companions of the Messenger of Allah that also said that. So how in the world you going to call Imam al-Albani murji', where now you have to say that all these great ulama are murji'? All of these great ulama are so-called murji' now, due to the fact that the great Imam al-Albani clearly had taken the text of the Kitab al-Sunnah and established it. As you will find that the same other ulama who say the other affairs of the great Imam, Shaykh bin Baaz, says that the individual, even if he leaves it off and abandons it out of negligence and laziness, kafir. There are also companions from the Messenger of Allah who also had what? Taken that position. So you cannot call each party what? You will never find that the people took the position of Imam al-Albani saying that the position of Shaykh bin Baaz necessitates he's Khariji. You won't find that. Or that Shaykh Salih Fawzan is Khariji. You'll never find it. Ever. You'll never find it. You cannot now what? Say in regards to those ulama and the position that they had taken based upon there was a salaf for it. There was a salaf for it. That's the reason why, like we mentioned before, for those who say the great Imam al-Albani was murji', based upon these type of positions, that he had no what? Salaf for it. Yes, he did. From them was Imam al-Shafi'i. From them was Imam Malik. From them was from the companions of the Masjid of Allah. Is it clear, everyone? So don't let any individual come to you and say, oh, Shaykh al-Albani, he took that position in regards to leaving off the prayer out of negligence and laziness, murji'. Ya akhi, if you say he's murji', Shaykh Imam Shafi'i murji'. Also the great Imam Malik murji', the Sahaba is murji'. Ya akhi, you may have to make ilzam on all of those what? People who mentioned it, based upon the fact that he had taken a clear text that's established firmly in the Sunnah. That he said that they would be removed from the hellfire and they did not do any good. No good. What was included in that good that they didn't do? You see it clearly. You heard it. No prayer. But notice in the hadith that the Messenger of Allah did clarify that individual still was what? He was in the hellfire and he was Muslim. But he was in the hellfire. He was in the hellfire. Keep that in mind in the text. So you can't abandon to let one know. You can't abandon none of these affairs to say, oh, these ulama are such and such. All of them gave the great magnification and veneration of the affair of the prayer. How great it is in the religion of Islam. But however, at the same time, we still have to also respect what the Messenger of Allah says. The Messenger of Allah clarified in these texts of affairs that will happen in the hereafter. You cannot say now the Messenger of Allah what? Take that hadith and what? Get rid of it. No. You have to also what? Apply it. But at the same time, the great Imam, Shaykh Rabi' even mentioned, he said, but the evidences are extremely strong for those who say that the person that abandons the prayer has left the fold of Islam. He says it's very strong. Very, very strong. He said the affair, brothers and sisters, is extremely dangerous. I'll also read what the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad Amani said about this. He said, وَالْمَسَلَ مَبْسُوطَةٌ فِي كُتُبِ الْحَدِيثِ وَكُتُبِ السُّنَّةِ. Well, from the best of those who have written about this matter, gave proper details and brought the evidences for both sides, is in the book called Risalat al-Salah by Al-Alama Ibn al-Qayyim. And it's not that long. It's a very short book. وهو في مجلد لطيف صغير الحجم. رسالة الصلاة ابن القيم ساق الأدلة من الجانبين وفصل وكتب وساق الأدلة ووفى بما يشفي بما يروي الغليل ويشفي العليل. You'll find that he brings, of course, of what will fulfill and suffice for the person who wants to now know both sides of the evidences of what they have. And like we said, the book is not that big. It's like maybe this small. It's not that big. Have the book. It's one mujallad, it's one volume, and it's not that big. And it hasn't been translated fima a'lam, as far as what I know. As you'll find that the tulab al-ilm, like we said, it's upon them to go back to that risala by the great Imam. As he brings the ahkam and leaving off the prayer, and you'll find that he also really brings and scrutinizes the affair and the mas'ala, and he fulfills, like we said, the details in it. He said, وَعَلَى كُلٍّ مَنْ تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ أو تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ خَطِيرٌ جِدًّا والإنسان العاقل هل يرضى لنفسه يقف موقفا يختلف فيه أهل العلم هل أنت كافر أو مسلم؟ من يرضى لنفسه يقف هذا الموقف ترضى أن تكون محل خلاف إيمانك محل خلاف بين أهل العلم هذا يقول لك أنت كافر والآخر يقول لا إنما أنت فاسق. من يرضى بهذا؟ العاقل لا يرضى ولكن العاقل يرضى أن يكون في القمة في الإيمان. الإيمان يزيد وينقص يزيد بالطاعة والإكثار منها والإكثار من العبادة ينقص فيضعف بالمعاصي إلى أن يضمحل يكاد أن يذهب وربما يذهب كليا. He said the affair, brothers and sisters, and this is the great Imam, he gives this tremendous advice. He said, a Muslim with sound reasoning, al-aqil, is he really pleased for himself that he would take a position in which the people of knowledge have differed in? Are you a kafir? Are you a non-Muslim? Or are you Muslim? Are you a disbeliever? Or are you Muslim? Who's pleased with himself to take this position with himself? That you now put yourself in a predicament which is mahallu khilaf, a place of differing amongst the scholars, and put yourself in that dangerous position. Your faith now that you've now put yourself in, or the predicament you put yourself in, is now a place of differing amongst the people of knowledge. Where one can say to you, you're a disbeliever, and another might say, no, you're a fasiq. Do you want to be in that state? Which one? Who from what Muslim wants to be either a kafir or a fasiq? And that's basically what it is. Either you're a kafir or, and at the least you want to say he's a what? Fasiq. Who wants to be pleased with that? A person of sound reasoning is not pleased. However, al-aqid, the one with true sound understanding, he always wants to be in the position where he's in the top, in the apex of faith. And faith increases and decreases. It increases by obedience of Allah and His Messenger and doing an abundance of it. And an abundance of worship. It decreases and it becomes weak by sins until nothing is left of it. Ila an yadmahil. It diminishes and diminishes and diminishes until what? Until it's about to go. And then it could probably what? Totally go. So those are the matters you'll find at the great Imam that he's mentioned in this regard. And that's just to give a little what? Shakl mukhtasar. Just to give a summary. But I wanted to mention that, everyone, due to the fact that you'll find that even the people of ambiguities to this day يدندنون حول مثل هذه المسائل لا سيما الأمر المتعلق به الإمام الألباني رحمه الله يتهمونه بالإرجاء يرمونه بالعظائم مع أن الإمام الألباني بريء براءة الذئب من دم يوسف من هذه التهم ومن هذه الأمور التي يرمي بها أو يرمى بها الإمام الألباني رحمه الله رحمة واسعة. So those are the affairs that we wanted to mention, everyone, in regards to what you'll find that the people of falsehood in every time and every place try to accuse Imam al-Albani of based upon these type of masail. We wanted to clarify it so you can have some type of knowledge. So as soon as someone comes with the nonsense, you can immediately what? You can immediately rebuttal the nonsense. Shaykh al-Bani is murji. طيب, Imam Shafi'i was murji. The Sahaba murji. The Messenger of Allah made a mistake in the text. You're going to say the Messenger of Allah made a mistake? The hadith says it clearly in Sahih Muslim. There will be people who will be removed from the hellfire. They didn't do any good. But at the same time, the Messenger of Allah did say they were what? They were in the hellfire. You understand? But they were brought out. And no one comes out of the hellfire except a person who is still what? Is still Muslim. Is it clear? Good. طيب. نمشي إن شاء الله. Let's keep going. Go to the books. نعود إلى الكتاب نفسه. والشهادة والبراءة بدعة. The testimony and al-bara'ah. And freeing yourself. Freeing yourself. Al-bara'ah. We'll talk about the meaning of this. Don't worry. Bid'ah. He said it's bid'ah. طيب. Be attentive to what we're going to mention here, everyone. Al-shahada wal-bara'atu bid'ah. What does that mean? To testify or testimony and freeing yourself is an innovation. Just to sum it up, of what we study of books of al-aqa'id, what do we establish, everyone? To testify that anyone's from who? From paradise. Al-shahadatu li-mu'ayyan. كما سيأتي مفصلة. الشهادة لمعين بأنه ماذا؟ من أهل الجنة. بدعة. والبراءة بدعة. And to set yourself free is also what? Or to free yourself. Also is bid'ah. Free yourself from what? Or from who? البراءة من غير آل البيت كما فعلت الروافض. الروافض قالوا ولاء آل البيت واجب على كل مسلم. ولكن هل من شرط ولاء آل البيت البراءة من غيرهم أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وغيرهم؟ هذا هو الخطأ. هذه هي البدعة. الروافض غلوا في حب آل البيت، بل وصل بهم الغلو في عهد علي إلى أن ألهوه، جعلوه إلها فاعبدوه، ولذلك حرق كبارهم بالنار. لاحظ بالنسبة للخوارج قاتلهم بالسلاح، ولكن بالنسبة للروافض حرقهم. فقال لما رأيت الأمر أمر منكرا أججت ناري وناديت قنبرا. To the end of the poetry. Talk about that in a second. طيب, let's keep going. Ibn Khafif. You look at your books, everyone? You sharing? Good. The testimony, that's number one. Testimony for who? For someone specific. This will come, inshallah, don't worry. That so-and-so's from the people of paradise. It's bid'ah. That's an innovation. You'll find that Ibn Khafif mentioned in the line. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? Even if they are from the most righteous of people from amongst us. There's no way that we can know that except from knowledge of the unseen. If we know the knowledge of the unseen, its door is what, everyone? It's closed. No one knows what was the intentions of people, even if they were the most righteous of them. We don't know. But if they are upon, and they died upon good, we say, what, everyone? What's the statement that we say? We mentioned this in previous classes.
We hope general for them.
Exactly. نَرْجُ لَهُمْ خَيْرًا. We hope for them good. We hope for them what, everyone? We hope for them good. وَمَنْ مَاتَ عَلَى سُوءِ عَمَلِهِ نَخَافَ عَلَيْهِ. And whoever dies upon the evilness of the... And whoever dies upon the evilness of their action, then what, everyone? We fear for them. We fear for them. Is it clear, everyone? طيب. However, the affair, what we wanted to be attentive of, is that a shahada li mu'ayyan, to testify even if they die upon the most greatest of states or the greatest of conditions. Still to testify in these times, of course, to say, so-and-so is what? In paradise. That affair is what? Bid'ah. we have no knowledge of that affair of the person. Because how many from on the day of resurrection, may Allah preserve us and you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose them for their evil intention, even though they did something righteous outwardly. We have texts that clearly establish that certain people will be exposed on the day of resurrection, that you just fought just to be said you're what? You're a brave individual. أنت قاتلت ليقال أنت شجاع, or هو شجاع. Or من قاتل لأجل حمية, لأجل حميته. Or he killed out of some form of what, everyone? Hamiyah, jahiliyah, or some type of what they call blind fanaticism in regards for fighting for their people or whatever. Or some type of racial affair. Or some type of affair that has nothing to do with Allah and His Messenger. All of that is to fight what they call hamiyatan, out of some type of pre-Islamic what? Affair, and nothing connected with Islam at all in regards to fighting in order for Allah's religion to be established in the utmost in the earth. If the attention in the individual showing and displaying righteous actions, but his intention is what? Something totally different. And Allah knows that, and on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose the individual for that evil intention and that corrupt intention. That's the reason why we do not testify that anyone that dies upon their good actions, no matter what it is, except that we say, we hope for them good. We hope for them what? نَرْجُ لَهُ خَيْرًا. Is it clear, everyone? طيب. Oh, that's going to come, don't worry, in a minute. We're going to get the details in these affairs, don't worry. طيب. The second thing, if you look in your books, al-bara'ah. Al-bara'ah. Setting oneself free from. Or separating, or showing and displaying some type of separation. Or disavowalment. He said disavowalment is also bid'ah. Disavowalment means to separate yourself. Free yourself. I'm free from such and such, or I'm free from so and so. However, what is intended by bara'ah here is other than what they call, what we're speaking about now, which is a refutation against the Rawafid, al-Bayt. Al-Bayt. The family of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Bayt. Just as the Rawafid, what they do. قالوا, you'll find that wala al-Bayt wajib. Okay, that's correct. To love or the allegiance for the family of the house, meaning the family of the Messenger of Allah, is obligatory upon every Muslim. No doubt. Nobody argues with that. However, what they say, هل من شرط ولاء البيت البراء من غيرهم? Now this is the rebuttal. However, that the one who stipulates that now one has to take allegiance where they love the house or the family of the house of the Messenger of Allah, that they now have to separate themselves from other than them, meaning Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, that's the affair. Is it clear, everyone? They say they love the house of the Messenger of Allah, طيب, Abu Bakr and Umar from amongst them, but you set yourself free from them, which is contradictive. So love of the family of the Messenger of Allah, but those who are the closest to him and his companions, and who are also in his family, you set yourself free from that. That is the mistake in which we're talking about. That's what's intended here. Is it clear, everyone? That is what he's speaking, what is considered what, everyone? Bid'ah. Bid'ah. Is it clear? Bid'ah. You'll find that the Rawafid, even during the time of the Sahaba, two things. The first deviant sects in Islam were who, everyone? They were the Khawarij and they were the Shia. The Khawarij and the Shia. You say it again.
The Qadariyyah?
No. They were not the first two.
After
the Qadariyyah came later. The first two in Islam were what? Of the deviant sects, and they're still the fitna of today, in this very moment. Other than the Jama'at al-Ikhwan al-Mujrimeen. They are also from them. But from the two was started, and they're the two today that's the greatest fitna upon us. Is who? Number one? The Khawarij, and then who? The Shia. The Khawarij actually emerged during the time of the Messenger of Allah. you'll find that they're considered the first, due to the fact of the emergence of who? Dhul Khuwaysirah Tamimi. Where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that they will emanate from that individual right there, such and such and such people, that will what? Read the prayer, read the Quran, recite it to the end of it, until you look down upon it. Your recitation comparison to theirs will be insignificant, to the end of the worship that they will what? Exhaust themselves and render themselves weary in performing, and they will be considered from the dogs of hell, due to the corrupt belief that they possess. Those type of matters, number one, was the Khawarij first. Then second, who came after them was who? The Shia. The Shia came after them. The Khawarij came and killed who? Who did they kill? Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. Uthman ibn Affan. Then from amongst them, who came with the Khawarij, who came after, who they killed after? Ali. However, during the time of Ali emerged the Shia. The Shia from amongst them had deitized Ali. It called him a deity of worship. Similar to what what you hear now. The Khawarij of today from the terrorists and the Shia was taking place in what? Palestine right now. Who's involved? The Shia and the Rawafid. Confusion and making the other Muslim countries look like they're not doing anything. Playing a big game in order to what? Deceive the masses. Not realizing behind it of those who are cooperating from all of the three sects I just mentioned to you. The Khawarij are involved, the Shia are involved, and the Ikhwan al-Muslimin are all involved. And all of them are cahoots with the who? With the Zionists and the Yahud. And they're all working together to this very moment right now. And the one who started the Shia was a Jew whose name was Abdullah ibn Saba al-Yahudi al-Yamani. He is the Mu'assis al-Shia, kan Yahudiyan. Ismuhu Abdullah ibn Saba al-Yahudi al-Yamani. وهو مؤسس الشيعة وكان يهوديا. Is it clear, everyone? واضح? Is it clear?
Was he the first Shia?
He was the first one. He was the establisher.
Abdullah ibn Saba.
Saba al-Yahudi. Al-Yamani. He was also from Yemen. He was from Yemen. He was the establisher of the Shia, in which during his time they deitized Ali, raised him to the level of what? A deity. Until Ali ibn Abi Talib threatened them. I will give you 3 days to make tawbah. If not, I'm carrying out the what? The punishment against you. You'll find that he gave him days to make tawbah, saying, do not worship me, and I will give you 3 days to make what? Repentance to Allah from this nonsense that you're upon. To deitize me? A'udhu billah. Is it clear, everyone? Those type of matters in regards to what the establisher, his name was Abdullah ibn Saba al-Yahudi, who came close to the companions of the Messenger of Allah, in which he tried to what, everyone? He tried to corrupt the religion of Islam and come with some type of what? False, perverted version of it. What did he do? He did it even though at the same time the correct aspect of Islam was protected. In contrast to Christianity. Christianity is the same thing that happened with Abdullah ibn Saba. The same thing happened at the hands of Paul. He was the exact same individual. He came close to Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam, in order to what? Deceive him, draw close to him out of hypocrisy and change his religion. But the difference between us and the Christianity is that Paul changed it. He was able to change it. That's the reason why if you now do a scholastic research, that the majority of the Christians of today follow the indoctrination of who? Paul. Then after that is Jesus. Because Jesus never called to what? Deitizing himself. And that the people who truly follow the pure teachings of Jesus, the Son of Mary, never deitized him. They say he was a prophet and messenger, but who was the one that introduced the indoctrination and changed his message? It was Paul. Paul to Christians is Abdullah ibn Saba to the Muslims. And they both were Jews. Both of them. Is it clear? They both were Jewish. The difference between the Muslims and the Christians that came before is that Abdullah ibn Saba changed it. He corrupted it. However, in regards to Abdullah ibn Saba, even though he started the sect and is still prevalent to this day, but he did not change the religion of Islam. It was preserved by Allah. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it not clear? Good. Based upon the deviant sects in regards to the Rawafid, they deitized Ali, ja'aluhu ilahan, fa'abaduh. During the time of Ali, they made him a deity. They worshipped him. You'll find that Ali ibn Abi Talib, even though some of the Sahaba told him not to do that was a khata, but it was ijtihad. But at the same time, in order to show how... I gotta stop. In order to show... I didn't even know how the time. In order to show how great this affair was, you'll find that Ali ibn Abi Talib had whatever he wanted. He gave them 3 days to make tawbah. And then, if they insisted upon that affair, that he will what? Set them on fire. حَرَّقَهُمْ بِالنَّارِ. The Tawhid says in the poetry, he says, that when I seen the affair of what is evil became a great evil, he said, I lighted my fire and I called for qambar, to set them on fire. Even though Abdullah bin Abbas had told them not to, that an affair that shouldn't have been done. But the point of the matter is that you'll find that he wanted to show the severity of one who tries to make a human being a deity of worship. That affair is what? Tremendous. Listen to what the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad Ahmad al-Jami said. He said, لاحظ بالنسبة للخوارج. He said, now this is something I want y'all to put a ring around or put some type of circle around. He said, لاحظ هذا الفرق الدقيق. He said, in regards to the Khawarij, قاتلهم بالسلاح. That in regards to the Khawarij, he fought them by what? By weapons. ولكن بالنسبة للروافض حرقهم. However, in regards to what? The Rawafid, he burnt them up. Is it clear, everyone? In order to establish who was the one that was upon something what worse? The Rawafid. And they still are upon that same filthy affair to this very what? Day. A lot of them. Even though they're different sects. And they all break down to different levels. But however, everyone, the majority of the Shia now are become the Rawafid, as the great Imam Abdul Aziz ibn Baaz, rahimahullah, he said that the majority of them all have now become Rawafid, even though some of them might reject some of the ideologies of them. But they've all now become under that same banner, if not majority of them. طيب. Last thing before we stop in a minute, everyone. It says, أمر قنبر خادمه أن يرميهم في النار. There was an individual named Qanbar who serviced Ali, and that they be thrown in the fire. He said, because they said, you, O Ali, you are Allah. You're Allah. Who started that fitna? Abdullah ibn Saba, al-Yahudi, al-Yamani, al-Lahuhu. I'm sorry. هذه نتيجة الغلو في الصالحين. That is the result of what? Extremism amongst as in regards to the righteous. You'll find that they went into the extremes of Al-Bayt. Went into the extreme until what, everyone? They deitized Ali, made him a deity of worship. However, لاحظ ليس كل الروافض بهذه الدرجة. But we wanted to mention that. However, notice that all of the Rawafid are not at this degree. As you'll find that the Shia are different madhahib. They're different ways. But however, the most misguided from amongst them, and the greatest of them, is the Rawafid. Who's on the lesser level of the Rawafid are still considered from Ahl Bid'ah. Is it clear, everyone? No one is declared to be out of the fold Islam from those who are less than them. As for the Rawafid, the ulama consider them to be what, everyone? Kuffar. فَكَفَّرَهُمْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ. Why? Because they deitize who? Ali. And you'll find that from a Rawafid who mentioned, as we have probably mentioned this before, there's no problem that we say it again, that they say that Jibreel alayhi salam made a mistake. And that he brought the prophethood to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قالوا النبوة ليست لمحمد بل لعلي. He said that the prophethood wasn't for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rather it's for Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. He said, وَلَكِنْ جِبْرَائِيل إِمَّا أَنَّهُ أَخْطَأَ أَوْ خَانَ. This is what they say. He either made a mistake or he was treacherous. He didn't fulfill his trust. And he didn't fulfill his amana. He left Ali and he gave the nubuwwah, prophethood to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. اتهموكم جعلوا أمر الله فوضى. They made the affair of Allah chaos. Where they made Jibreel untrustworthy. So they made Jibreel, Prophet Jibreel, Angel Jibreel, untrustworthy. And they made Muhammad sallallahu also what? Untrustworthy. And they took the truth from other than him, that who deserved it. All of these affairs generally are considered what everyone? Mukaffirat. Meaning affairs that will render one out the fold of Islam. Al-Atifa ما تكفي في هذا الباب. لذلك أهل السنة لم يكفروا من طوائف وفرق الشيعة إلا هؤلاء. He said, of course, the atifa of one who finds concern or what suffices in this affair to show that Ahl Sunnah did not declare to be out the fold of Islam from the deviant sects from amongst them, except those from amongst the Rawafid. Even though you'll find from Shaykh Abdur Aziz bin Baaz, he said that the majority of Shia have all become what? Rawafid. The majority of all can become Rawafid. However, if there's from amongst them who do not believe this, then they still are considered in the fold of Islam, as Shaykh Rabi' even mentioned. Even mentioned in his book, he said, from amongst them who do not believe this nonsense. And there's certain from amongst the common folk that don't believe that. He said, if it's for them, then we don't consider them what? Kuffar. But it's from the Rawafid, especially that believes this type of affair, then they're what? Out the fold of Islam. Especially those who say that Muhammad sallallahu was not fit for what? For Nubuwwah, rather should have been for who? Should have been for Ali. Is it clear, everyone? And you'll find from amongst them who also call the adhan glorifying Ali. From amongst their weird adhan, I've heard it back in the 90s, their adhan is very weird. It even sounds satanic. So it's very, very satanic. It's very weird. At any rate, so those are the affairs pertaining to what? The matters that's pertaining to Rawafid. If they do not believe that, then like we said, generally we say that they're still in the fold of Islam. But if it's reached the level of this type of rhetoric, then we have no doubt in what? In their disbelief. Is it clear? We'll stop here, inshallah. Anything we wanted to mention about the lesson? Anyone? Anything? I'll read quickly what Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah even mentions. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, أما من اقترن بسبب, this is in another book of his, not in the same book. من اقترن بسبه أما من اقترن بسبه دعوى أن عليا إله أو أنه كان هو النبي وإنما غلط جبريل في الرسالة فهذا لا شك في كفره بل لا شك في كفر من توقف في تكفيره وكذلك من زعم منهم أن القرآن نقص منه آيات وكتمت وزعم أن له تأويلات باطنة تسقط الأعمال المشروعة ونحو ذلك وهؤلاء يسمون القرامطة والباطنية ومنهم التناسخية وهؤلاء لا خلاف في كفرهم. This is the last part. As for the one that is coupled along with their insults or curses, their claim that Ali is a deity, or that he is the prophet, and that Jibreel made a mistake in his risala, in his delivery of the message. No doubt in their disbelief. Rather, we don't have any doubt in the one or the disbelief that doesn't. Rather, we have doubt in the disbelief who now hesitates to make them disbelievers. Likewise, from amongst them who say that the Quran is incomplete, and that there's ayat that needs to be put in it, or that has been hidden, or that you'll find that there are so-called inward meanings, or inward type of so-called interpretations, that now removes the obligations of the people, or anything similar to that. Similar to the Qaramita and the Batiniyah, and these are deviant sects, and from amongst them who are called At-Tanasukhiyah. We don't have no doubt and their disbelief, especially the Qaramita. Read their history, it'll blow your mind. Of how they even stole the Hajar al-Aswad. They stole it and took it. The black stone, yes, they took it. سرقوا الحجر الأسود ونقلوه إلى مكان آخر. The Qaramita. Is it clear, everyone? And who they followed? The individual Abdullah ibn Pyramid. And Abdullah ibn Pyramid resembles the most, everyone, of the Nation of Islam. And I have no doubt that Elijah Poole probably studied the affairs of the Qaramita and took their ideologies and brought it over here to America to mislead the people here. And he took it from the Qaramita. That a lot of it, you'll find the ideologies of it goes back to that particular set. And the Muslims didn't study these affairs to let them know that if they would have found this matter, that this individual stole some of the ideologies and tried to apply here. And misguided a lot of people from it. So go back to the deviant sect called Qaramita by Abdullah ibn Pyramid. Read it. That's your homework. So everyone asks me for homework. Go back to the deviant sect called Qaramita. And I'm going to ask you guys about it when you know what, I won't be here next week. I'm going to make Umrah. I'll be gone for a week and a half. Almost 2 weeks.
It's too long, Shaykh. No.
Say it again.
Yeah, we're going to the Masjid for class.
I'm here.
2 weeks.
Don't worry, I'm here.
What's his name?
Abdullah ibn Pyramid. Qaf, Ra, Mim, Ta. Pyramid. His followers are called Qaramita.
Come right up, and then it'll show Hajar al-Aswad. Shut up.
Oh, it came up immediately?
Came up immediately.
That they stole the black stone. They stole the black stone and moved it. They had to recover it. They had to recover the black stone. He stole it.
They were with the Bataniya, right?
Right here.
No, they're Baltani also.
Yeah, okay.
They're Baltani. Say it again.
Portion of it or the whole thing back?
I think they got the whole thing back, as far as I know. It might have been broken. But look it up. That's your homework. You're asking me for homework. Tafadal. Class questions.
Question. So I said in regards to the Muslims in these lands who the prescribed punishment can't be established when they be killed.
In the West?
In the West.
Of course.
What is his state within regards to leaving off the prayer purposefully or laziness? You know, like is it and is that state only for?
This is a question for someone. This is someone. Okay. What is their state in regards to a person that's lax in their prayer? Number one, if it's in regards to a person, let me start from number one, person that's a child or teenager and they're still developing. Of course, we want to have some type of patience if they're young or they just embrace Islam. If they're in the beginning of Islam, then of course you're going to find that they're going to be little mishaps on their way to doing what's required of them. So those people that are new shahada, or they just started practicing, or they're still developing, their little children, have a little patience with them. Okay, everyone? Have patience with them, have taghaful. Okay? In the West, in the affairs of the West, takes people away from the remembrance of Allah. For that reason, in our gradual process of helping them develop, there's going to be mishaps in the road, so be patient with them. So that's the first thing. Whenever you want to be attentive of. Because I don't want no one coming and said, you just became Muslim and you're still being the hardest of hard upon a person that just either became Muslim or they just started becoming mutadayyin. They started becoming religious. So there's going to be thorns in the road, there's going to be bumps and thumps and mishaps. So be patient with them. Like, the affair that we have to be severe with, or a little bit harsh with rather, is people who have been Muslim for years. For years. Teach them and tell them, listen, the prayer is something that don't leave off. That affair you're going to cross over to the realm of disbelief. And that's when the shaitan is really going to play with you. Because you have no shield to protect yourself now. The prayer will be some form of protection or fortification from the shayateen, from the human beings and the unseen devil. When you remove all those matters, the shayateen are now prone to play with your mind, your body, your heart, and your physical and everything else. And Allah knows best of how many human beings here in this land are walking around with jinns inside of them. Based upon what I see today, I wouldn't find it far off. Of how many people are mutalabbis bi shayateen. Of how many people that probably they have shayateen inside of them. From all the things I see and hear, especially with the non-Muslims. Stuff is just astonishing of some of the things they do. But anyway. So those are the matters that what we mentioned, everyone. Be patient with those who are new shahada, developing, still growing in their religion. That's number one and number two. Like we said, number three is in regards to people that they're not praying. Then the affairs of marriage, the affairs of pertaining to our families, or who that we see that if leaving them is benefit for them. Because some people that if you leave them, it might make them worse. It might make them more insolent and more arrogant and belligerent. Is it clear, everyone? Yeah. It might increase them in what? More rebellion. So if the affairs pertaining to that, look at it and study it carefully. So if you see now that person is becoming more what? Arrogant, keep reminding them, telling them, saying that the prayer, what about me? I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Don't worry about that. Just pray. Tell them that. Now, some of the Muslims I've seen them and give bad advice, some of the worst advice. Oh, he's gay. Yahi, man, you have to leave off being gay before you start praying. And I'm like, Ahi, that's incorrect. That's wrong. You told them to leave off being gay first?
That's crazy.
That's horrible advice. Horrible. Tell them to pray first, and inshallah, bi'idhnillah, you'll leave off the affair of what? That matter that you're indulging in. No. Tell them to pray first, make tawbah to Allah, and pray. And eventually their prayers, as it comes in the narration, their prayer will prohibit them and stop them from doing what they're doing. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. Also, أقم الصلاة طرفي النهار وزلفا من الليل إن الحسنات يذهبن السيئات ذلك ذكرى للذاكرين. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, verily the prayer تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر, that it will prohibit and stop a person from committing all abominable acts and evils. So that's from the purpose of the prayer. And in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about establishing the prayers and how it removes the sins. The things pertaining to it, and that's a remembrance for those who take heed. So that's what we wanted to mention. So tell the person, listen, I know you're going through things in your life. Don't leave off the prayer. Continue to perform the prayer. No matter what you're going through. I don't care if you're going through whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Whether it be homosexuality, whatever it is, drugs, keep praying. You understand? Don't leave off the prayer. Is it clear? طيب إن شاء الله. تفضل.
ابن خفيف من هو؟ هل كان صوفي أو
He was Sufi. He was Sufi.
And that's the Sunnah.
I don't know him to be from Ahl Sunnah. Shaykh al-Islam said that he was from Ahl Kalam, and he has some Sufiya with him. I'll read it to you. Go back to the book.
Yeah. My explanation.
But the problem is, he said he was from Ahl Sunnah?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying your explanation is very detailed. It's like a ta'liqat.
But what did he say he was from Ahl Sunnah? He didn't mention it. Okay. But I'll mention the next class in regards to Ibn Khafif again. But he was telling him that individual, that he was upon of what the ulama of Sunnah was upon in order to establish upon his followers as a hujjah. And a lot of what he mentioned agreed with what the people of the Sunnah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a whole text of what I don't believe.
Exactly. You'll find from the majority of those who's pertaining to those in the past, even to this day, you'll find that Shaykh Rabi' even mentioned, he said the majority of people of Sufiya from amongst the scholars know that the people of Sunnah are upon the truth. He said they know that. He said, but however, the thing is preventing them from embracing it, he said, is just maintaining their status, money, dunya. and respect and reverence that they have from their people. He said for that is the reason why that made them hesitant to leave off what they're upon of misguidance and embark upon embracing the sunnah out of fear that all of those worldly matters and those worldly enjoyment will go away from them. He said majority of them profess or they actually attest to this fact that the people of the sunnah are upon the truth. And that the people who follow what is correct from proper aqidah, they're upon the truth. Even Shaykh mentioned that in the Sharh of Aqidah to Salaf. He mentioned that. He said a lot of them know that. He said, but however, out of fear of wealth, money going away, status, position, leadership, and reverence and respect, they still remain upon what they remain upon. And losing money. Because a lot of them, you'll find that they're tested with that. A lot of wealth is coming through the shirk, through the polytheism. A lot of people providing a lot of wealth. Exactly. Giving them a lot of wealth and supplying to them a lot of wealth and so-called financial aid. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Anything else about the lesson, anyone? Follow.
اسم كتاب لم أجد.
أي شو؟ أي كتاب؟
ابن القيم.
الرسالة؟ الرسالة الصلاة موجودة. I have it. I have it. It's like you don't find it online? It's around. I have it in my house. It's like one volume. It's not that long. It's real thin. It's not long. I'm surprised it's not found online. But it's around though. Mm-hmm. Anything else, anyone? Tafadhal, Abdullah. Oh, I thought you wanted that. Anything else, anyone? So we'll stop here. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. As far as the burning